Hey y'all, No here. Well, this week's lesson is going to be about gardening. And I don't know when you may be watching this video. If you started last fall, at the very beginning, it may be the same time of year when you're watching this as it is now. So as of now in 2025, it's late June when I'm actually recording this. And so a lot of people are having vegetables and fruit starting to be buried on their crops that they have planted, the plants that they have planted in the gardens. And so I thought it was kind of ironic that this lesson would come around at this particular time of year. But farming and, sowing and harvesting, preparing soil, all these were methods that a lot of times Jesus would use to teach his disciples because it was, an agricultural society in the time and place, where they were living. And so it was an easy example for the disciples to understand. And so this particular lesson, which Jesus was teaching to his disciples, was about what they were going to be doing after Jesus ascended back to heaven. And so the passages that I'm using are John 15:5, John 15:8, and Galatians 5:22 and 23. And so these are probably sound pretty familiar to you. So John 15:5 says, and this is Jesus speaking to his disciples, he said, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, he bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. And so Jesus knew that once he ascended back to heaven, of course, he hadn't been crucified yet, but it was coming quickly. And so Jesus knew after he left that all the work that Jesus could do was going to be done. It was going to be finished. And actually, that's the last thing Jesus said on the cross is, it is finished. And so after Jesus ascended back to heaven, then it was up to the disciples to carry on the work of, establishing the church, preaching the gospel, writing the New Testament, all those things. And so Jesus knew it was very important that he spend the time to prepare them for the very important work that was coming after he left. So let's break the verse down into its individual parts a little bit. I am the vine is what Jesus spoke of himself, but he said that the disciples were the branches. So the vine is a part of a plant that actually has roots that go down into the ground. But the roots that go down into the ground are not the part, unless maybe it's potatoes, that produce the fruit. The branches that branch out from that part that's planted in the vine into the ground, that's the part that actually produces the fruit. Like a cucumber vine produces cucumbers, not down at the roots, but on the vines that run out from the part that was planted into the ground. And so, when we plant a plant in the ground, we can do everything that we're supposed to do and everything that we need to do in order for that plant to, sprout and grow and produce the crop that it's supposed to produce. But at the end of the day, we can do all the right things. We can put the fertilizer, we can protect the plant from insects. We can do all those things. But at the end of the day, we can't produce any fruit. It's up to that plant. And we can give the plant everything it needs, but we can't make that plant produce fruit. It is the job of the plant to produce it. We can't make it produce fruit. If we do the right things, it usually will, but it's not up to us, it's up to the plant to put that fruit on. And so Jesus compared himself and the relationship that the disciples had with him, and ultimately the relationship that they would continue to have with him after he ascended back into heaven. He compared that to the same relationship that we have with the plant that we plant into the ground. We can do all the right things, but it's up to the plant to produce the fruit. And so Jesus knew that after he was gone, that the Holy Spirit would come and live within the disciples. And at that point, then it would become their responsibility to bear the fruit, as it says in John 15:5. But it wouldn't be up to them to produce the fruit, because it says, he who abides in me and I in him, the exact way it was going to be when the Holy Spirit came. It says he bears much fruit. It does not say he produces much fruit. And so the Holy Spirit was going to be and would be the producer of the fruit, but the Holy Spirit was and is now just a spirit. The Holy Spirit has no hands or feet, and has no audible voice that we can hear with our ears. That is all dependent. The Holy Spirit is dependent on the disciples that he resides within to be the ones who actually produce or bear the fruit that the Holy Spirit wants to produce inside of each and every believer that the Holy Spirit resides within. And so that's why Jesus ended the verse by saying, apart from me, you can do nothing. And so apart from the Holy Spirit inside of us producing the fruit, we can't bear it. But you know what? The Holy Spirit is not shy about producing fruit inside us. But many times we are shy about bearing the fruit that the Holy Spirit is producing. And so in John 15:8, Jesus goes on to say, by this my Father is glorified, And what is he glorified by? That you bear much fruit and so prove to be my disciples. So that is a test of discipleship, is are we bearing the fruit that the Holy Spirit is producing inside of us? And if we are, it glorifies our Father in heaven, because he wants us to bear all the fruit that the Holy Spirit is producing inside of us. So just what is this fruit? Well, it's what we call the fruit or fruits of the Spirit. And so those are actually listed in Galatians 5, verses 22 and 23. And so it reads like this. But the fruit of the Spirit, that is the Holy Spirit, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And so in Galatians, Paul lists the 9 fruit or fruits of the Spirit. And so I will leave it up to you to discuss these 9 fruits of the Spirit with your class. But again, listing the fruits: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And so all these fruit the Holy Spirit is producing inside of us. The Holy Spirit is wanting us to be loving and joyful, and to have peace and demonstrate peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And the Holy Spirit will guide us and teach us, tell us how and when and what to do, in order that all those things that the Holy Spirit is producing inside of us, that will be produced and provided both for believers and unbelievers that live around us. That will be fruit that will bless the people around us, because fruit is not meant to just hang on the vine and fall off onto the ground. Fruit is meant to be consumed and to be a blessing to others. And so that's how the Holy Spirit wants us to bear the fruit that he's producing inside of us, is so that we can be a blessing to others. So this week we're going to have a craft where we're going to build our own fruit tree and put branches on it and put some very special pieces of fruit on that tree that can be a reminder to your students of all those kinds of fruit that the Holy Spirit wants to produce and wants them to bear. So with that said, let's go and build or plant or grow the tree that's going to produce the fruit that the Holy Spirit wants to produce in us. Okay, so here is our finished product for this week's craft. It's a tree with all of the fruits of the Spirit growing on it. All 9 of them. Okay, so that's what it is. So now let me show you how we're going to make it. Okay, so let's go over the materials that you're going to need to prepare ahead of time to make your spiritual fruit tree. So first thing you're going to need are some of these 6-inch dessert size paper plates. And you're going to not sure if you can see it. Yeah, now you can see it. You're going to poke a hole in the center of each one, and the size of the hole is going to be big enough that a roofing nail, and this particular roofing nail I'm using is 7/8 of an inch long, and so whichever way you decide to put the hole in the center is fine. I think the way I've done it in the past is I just stack up a bunch of plates and then take a drill and drill a hole down through the center. If you don't have a drill though, you can actually take the nail itself and poke the holes in each plate individually. But anyway, it needs to be big enough so that the nail will go through like that. And this is going to become the stand for the tree. Okay, and then the next thing you're going to need is a piece of styrofoam rod to make the trunk of your tree out of. Let's get a little bit more altitude for you here so you can see the top of the tree. And so the piece of styrofoam that I used is going to be 7.5 inches long, and it is 1.5 inches in diameter. Now, I don't think you'll be able to find this styrofoam rod in the color brown. It's going to be white. So what I did is I took some brown spray paint and lightly spray painted the trunk of the tree. You have to be kind of careful because if you use spray paint, the spray paint will actually dissolve the styrofoam if you put it on too lightly. So you might even want to use like a brush on paint. I've never tried it before, but the spray paint will work just fine as long as you don't get too carried away with it. Just put a light coating. You could even put 2 light coatings if the white tries to show through too much. And then what you want to do is take your nail and poke a hole in the bottom of one end. The bottom that is farthest away from the holes. Now, while I'm at it, I'm going to show you an easy way to make the holes in your tree trunk, which is where your your branches are going to go. So a real easy way to do it is to just use a paper towel roll. And if you'll notice, the way they make the paper towel roll, they just make a spiral of paper. And so an easy way to make the holes in the trunk is you just follow the spiral around. And so you're going to drill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes all the way through to the other side, and you see where the holes came through on the other side over here. So pretend this one hasn't been drilled yet, and then just take a small nail and poke it down here away from where the other hole is going to be. And then just place your rod so that the ends come out at one end. And then you're going to take your nail, and your small nail, smallest size you can come up with, and all that's going to do is hold the rod in place for you. And so the neat thing about it is this styrofoam rod is just small enough to fit inside this paper towel roll. So then all you have to do is just take a drill and just drill all the way through, all the way through, all the way through, all the way through, all the way through. And then obviously repeat that for every tree trunk. And then the other thing you're going to have made ahead of time is the fruit that you're going to put on the tree. So I just took some, I just copied some pictures of fruit from a coloring book and wrote the individual fruits of the Spirit: faithfulness, love, peace, gentleness, joy, self-control, kindness, patience, goodness. And so that is also something you're going to need to have made ahead of time. And then last but not least, for each tree, you're going to need 5 pipe cleaners. And the one that I used, they are 12 inches long. And that works out pretty well because, well, you'll see how it's going to go when we start making this one. But you're going to have a piece of fruit on this end and a piece of fruit on this end. And obviously this is going to slide all the way through. Okay, so that, I think, is all the materials that you're going to need to have prepared ahead of time. So first step that you want to do, and I would recommend having your students at least start on this part as they're coming into class, because what you're going to do is you're going to color each piece of fruit, okay? And it takes some time to do it, especially depending on how fast your students can color. So I'm actually going to go ahead and color this fruit. Not that you don't know how to color, not that your students don't know how to color, but this will give you an idea of how much time it might take for your students. So I'm going to use a red crayon, and then I got a couple of pieces of fruit that kind of look like apples. The beauty of this is it doesn't matter if they stay inside the lines or not, because we're going to cut this fruit out when we're finished with it anyway. And I just chose apples, pears, oranges, and bananas for my fruit. If you're limited on time or limited on crayons, you could even make all your fruit in one shape if you wanted to. So there's my apples. So I'm going to take this green colored pencil because I don't have any green crayons. And actually, if you've got plenty of colored pencils are easy to do this with, because you can kind of sharpen them to a sharper point than you can crayons. So I'm going to go ahead and color all my leaves. And then I've got a couple here that are shaped like pears. I don't know. I guess pears are green maybe, or yellow, depending on what variety of pears you have. So be sure and stress to your students that it's not a big deal if they get outside the lines, because you're going to cut all this out with scissors. Here's an orange one. This is supposed to be an orange. All right, and then we got a couple of bananas for goodness and gentleness. All right, so we've got them all colored. Not bad, huh? And then after they color them, you're going to have to decide what, your time constraints are. If you have a lot of kids that come in early and you want to have them go ahead and cut out the fruit after they color it, you could do that. Just be aware, though, once you get this fruit cut out, it becomes easy to drop on the floor and to get lost. So you don't want to lose any of your fruit. So if you have them cut it out before they're ready to assemble the tree, just make sure they don't lose any of the fruit. What I wished I had done in the past is not left the leaves on the fruit. But it kind of adds some color, and it kind of makes it look more like fruit if you do leave the leaves. Just makes it a little bit harder and takes a little bit more time to cut it out. Depending on the age of your students and how good they are with scissors, a lot of your leaves may end up getting cut off anyway. And these pears even have a stem. That also makes it look more like real fruit with the stem and leaves on it. All right, there's two. So you can see this is not a fast process, and I wouldn't even do it except that I'm wanting to give you an idea of how long it's going to take without you having to actually cut it out yourself. And in hindsight, using more bananas than apples and pears and oranges might have been a good idea too, because bananas can be cut out a lot faster because they're a simpler shape than the oranges, apples, and pears. And if you really wanted to disappoint your kids, instead of having their favorite snacks during snack time, you could actually bring some fruit. Which, I don't know, maybe some kids like fruit. Probably don't like fruit more than Cheez-Its or Goldfish or something like that. But it probably wouldn't kill them to eat some fruit. Maybe you could have fruit roll-ups. That might be a happy compromise that you could make. That would be a fruity snack, but not completely healthy either. Might be something they would like better than actual fruit. And probably easier to hand out also. All right, so you're seeing that I'm not even halfway through yet. But those bananas definitely do cut out a lot faster than the other fruit. All right, one more. You can see how, once you get these cut out, they become much smaller and easier to misplace or lose or drop on the floor. So even as they're cutting them out after they color them, keep watching to make sure that they don't drop them on the floor or get one student's fruit mixed up with the other, because when they finish, they should all have 9 different fruits of the Spirit, and they should be 9 different fruits of the Spirit. All right. I believe that's going to be good enough. So I got the fruits cut out. So now we're ready to put the tree together. Now, they can color this base green or brown or whatever color they think that the ground would be. I'm not going to take the time to color it, but it won't take that long to color this paper plate. Okay, so it's going to go something like this. So you're going to turn it so that the point of the nail comes through the bottom of the plate like this. Then you're going to find the hole in the center of the tree trunk. And this is something you're probably going to want to do for them. So you're just going to take your nail, press it up in like that. And then that will actually make a tree trunk that will stand up for you. And then next thing you're going to do, just start at the top and push your pipe cleaners about halfway through. I recommend just leave them straight until you get all 5 of them finished. Whoops, I missed a hole. Yeah, there's number 5. Right, and then all that you have left to do is to tape the fruit on. So easy way to do it is just put the tape on about halfway, come out towards the end, loop it around. And then what you're going to have, once you finish, it's going to be a piece of fruit out at the end of each branch. So we're just going to keep working our way around. Here's the fruit of the Spirit we teachers need the most: patience. Yeah, I appreciate you being patient with me, because this is probably getting a little bit boring to you. Whoops. Almost forgot the fruit. Last one. And so you'll end up with one branch with nothing on it. I'll leave it up to you to try to explain that to your students. And then we're just going to kind of bend them a little bit so that it kind of looks a little bit more like a tree. Enjoy some low-hanging fruit there. And might take a little bit of imagination to actually believe that this is a tree. Some kids in the past have told me it looks more like a spider than a tree. But it should get the point across. And if you can get them to take this home and not destroy it or tear it up or anything, it's actually a pretty good way to memorize the fruits of the Spirit, because you can say them. You can term your tree as you say them, and try to remember the ones that's coming around. Right, so that is how you make your fruit of the Spirit tree. So hopefully that will help your students to learn what the fruits of the Spirit are, and start bearing the fruit of the Spirit that the Holy Spirit is producing inside of them if they are believers already. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. This took a good bit of time, about half an hour, to make one from beginning to end with the prep work and everything, but it won't take you that long in class, because part of this video is preparing the materials. So I hope that goes well for you. God bless you, each and every one, and vaya con Dios.